Today we are going to make some spring edition shortbread cookie sticks. I know that shortbread is normally looked as a Christmas cookie, but I like to think it's also more of an Easter cookie as well. The reason being is that most of the treats and desserts and even the candies that you can get from the stores right now for Easter and spring, because it's springtime, are dark chocolate, milk chocolate, and really quite sweet. These are the opposite. Shortbread are not sweet at all. I use white chocolate to dip them in, so it's just a creamier flavor, and shortbread is melt in your mouth, buttery goodness. So I think it pairs really well along with all those other items just because it's different. They are quite simple to make, use very few ingredients, and the sprinkles that you choose can make a big difference with setting the tone of spring. So instead of the Christmas darker red and blue, green, like the bright colors, try to find a nice soft pastel color, and that will really transform your cookie into a springtime cookie. All right, I'm gonna put my hair up and then show you the ingredients that we are gonna need to make these spring cookies. Okay, to start us off, what we need is 1 1/4 cup butter, and I use salted butter, and then 3/4 cup of icing sugar. As you can see, I've already started to cream the butter up. I do that so that it limits the amount of icing sugar dust blowback in my face. It just makes it easier and cleaner. So we'll get back to this in just a sec. The other ingredients that you are going to need are 3/4 a cup of cornstarch and 2 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. You're gonna need 1 teaspoon of vanilla and a good 1/2 cup of sprinkles of your choice. Like I said, if you try to get ones that are more spring inspired, your cookies will look springier. Then afterwards, to dip them in, you are going to need about a cup of white chocolate chips and a 1/2 teaspoon of shortening just to help thin it a little bit. And then optional, you can have some more sprinkles to sprinkle on top of the white chocolate or leave it plain. That part will be up to you. Okay, so we are going to get this going again and cream this up for about 4 minutes so it's really nice, light, and fluffy. Time to add the vanilla, just a teaspoon, and I eyeball it. You can use a measuring spoon if you like. Just a little bit in there so you can, there we go. Now we're in focus, just a little bit. There we go. So we're gonna mix this up again. And then we'll make sure to give the bowl a good scrape before we add in the flour. Okay, so our butter and our sugar is nice and fluffy, and we've added our teaspoon of vanilla. Give the bowl a good scrape. Now it's time to slowly add in our flour and our cornstarch. Now we don't want to overbeat this, but if we add all of this into the butter, it's just gonna be a real big mess. So that's why we're gonna add it in nice and slowly, but then also being aware of not to overmix it. So let's do this. All right, we'll lock it into place and get it going. Just at a nice slow speed, again, so that the flour and cornstarch just don't make your whole house one big dust ball. All right, and that's enough. We'll add some more, and we're gonna just keep doing this on repeat until it's all incorporated in. All right, once it's all in, this is what your dough is gonna look like. It's kind of like a mixture of smooth and crumbly put together. But now we are going to add in our sprinkles and give it a good stir. Okay, and that should be good enough. Now we are going to just bring the dough onto the surface and gather it in our hands. I'll show you just to help combine everything together, because with the shortbread, between the butter and the flour, it doesn't come together like a nice smooth cookie. So we have to just kind of help bring it into a ball with our hands. Okay, so we have our dough here, and I just sprinkled a little bit of flour on my countertop, and we are gonna bring it down and just make sure that we can gather it and form it into a nice ball. See, it's all the stuff that's stuck to the sides needs to come out and get incorporated in. I'm just gonna grab my spatula. It's gonna be a little bit easier than just using my hands. There we go. A little bit more. All right, good enough. Okay. So here we are. The butter really helps make everything stick together well once you get it all together. It's nice and easy. All right, so if you were making standard shortbread cookies, you would put this ball of dough in the fridge for about an hour to 2 hours. But because we're gonna make ours into sticks, I'm going to actually roll it out onto parchment paper and then put it into the fridge like so. Okay, so we are going to roll and press our dough out. Because we're cutting them out into sticks, we want to leave the dough in a rectangular shape. Also, we don't want it thin. We want these to be thick. So about 3/4 of an inch thick. So not too low. I find that if we can get it into the shape and the thickness before putting it into the fridge, then it just makes it a lot easier later. So start off with the hands, pressing it down and kind of shaping it. I do find that doing it on parchment paper is so hard. I don't know if I'm not doing it right, but it's a lot harder than just the countertop, I find. All right, let's roll it out. It's kind of like a press. It's not a nice smooth roll like a normal dough, but it's a press and roll. All right, needs just a little more reshaping in this end. Don't want one end to be a lot thicker than the others, because then it's not going to, it's gonna bake very uneven with the shape that we're doing. All right, I think that's pretty good. Let's see, just square up the edges. Okay, so this side needs a little bit more. Okay. It's too hard to get perfect, but we can get close enough. Shaping it with your thumbs and your hands. Adjust it. And this end is just going to be shorter than these pieces, but that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to do one more step here. I'm going to take my knife and actually cut these up, and then we're gonna put it in the fridge to reset. All right, here we go. This is so fun. I love cutting dough up. I'll just take a little bit off that end there. So I'm going to trim these up to be as much of a rectangle, long rectangle as possible. So, and then we can maybe use the leftover dough and just put it into a different kind of shape so we don't waste it. Here we are. Now that we have the basic shape, you just slice. How fun is that? So fun. I love cutting through dough of any kind. It's just fun. It's very therapeutic for me. And the crunch, the sprinkles. Okay. So you can see they're quite thick and they're quite long, most of them. Some of them will be a little short. So we're just gonna keep doing that till we have all of our cookies, trying our very best to leave them as, you know, equal shape and thickness, but as cookies go, you can only do so much because I am not a cookie factory. So we're gonna try to keep this as uniform as possible, but it will not be perfect. It'll just be good enough. All right, so they're not as pretty as the other ones, but oh well. So I'm just going to now make sure that each cookie has a little bit of space in between, so they're gonna re-harden and reset in the fridge, and I just don't want them to get stuck together because doing it this way, oh, these are perfect. They look so nice. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. Leaving a little bit of space in between will make sure that it's just easier once they're hard and set, to transfer them to a cookie sheet. Okay, time to transfer them to the fridge to reset. Now they're gonna be in the fridge for a couple of hours. All right, our oven is preheated to 350 and you're gonna spread out your cookies on 2 sheets and make sure both your oven racks are close to the middle. You're gonna bake these for about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, just until they start to get slightly golden brown on the bottom. So the baking time will depend on how hot your oven is. Yummy, yummy. Oh, they smell so good. Look at these beauties. Oh, I wish you could smell them. They are delicious, though I guess you'll smell your own. The cookies have cooled, and I actually had a piece of one and they're absolutely delicious. Now we're going to heat up our ½ teaspoon of shortening and our white chocolate chips and just melt them up until it's nice and smooth. There we are. We're ready. So we can't really dip it in because I don't have a giant pot filled with chocolate. So you're just going to pour it on and smooth it out a little bit, front and back. There we go. Let any of the excess drip off. So otherwise it's going to become really clumpy once you put it down. All right. Like so. We're about halfway. You want half or less, no more. Put it there. Then we're going to, I'm going to use some more sprinkles. Just lightly sprinkle a few more on. Just like that. So good. Okay, so we're just gonna keep doing that for all of these cookies. All right, now you have 2 options. Now that the chocolate needs to set, you can wait and just keep it on your countertop and let it set, or you can pop them in the fridge. So I just put them back on the cookie sheet like so, and I'm going to carry them into the fridge because I don't have a lot of time waiting for the chocolate to set. And it's a little bit warm in here today, so just to speed up the process, in the fridge, they are going to go. All right, they're set. It only takes about 10 to 15 minutes to harden the chocolate in the fridge. That's why it's my choice. Otherwise, it can take hours. Look how pretty these are. So you can see they are a great addition to your Easter treat platters or just your goodies, or if you're going over to have a potluck somewhere for your house. But even if you don't do it for Easter, spring, it's very springy. And this recipe is just going to be very versatile. You can use a lot of different colors and flavors with it. It's maybe we'll do another one in the future that's maybe more fall colors and flavors, but look how fun that is. Nice stick. It's nice to have a cookie in a different shape versus just circle or like a cutout character. And if you have a lot of little children, and then just make these smaller. This one broke. Shortbread's a really fragile cookie, so if you notice, or you will notice, a lot of the recipes out there are for just like sugar cookie or standard cookies, but hardier and crispier, and shortbread is not often used in the stick form because it is quite a fragile cookie, and this is a whipped shortbread cookie recipe. So the Scottish shortbread would be much easier to handle the chocolate, but think out of all my sticks, only 2 broke. So it is possible. You just have to be really careful. And then you get to enjoy the, melt in your mouth whipped shortbread texture, which is the one I prefer. So look at that. So you can make it just a lot smaller if you have smaller children, or if you just want more cookies in general, where I have a bunch of like teenage boys there. And I'm a husband, I'd rather have one of these versus like 2 of these, but I do have some smaller children as well, as so they can enjoy the smaller ones, but most of mine are this size. So there you go. I hope that you like this recipe and enjoy your cookie shortbread sticks sometime this spring or Easter.